Deontay Wilder, is he still dangerous or is he finished? Now, Deontay Wilder was once the most feared puncher in heavyweight boxing. With knockout power that could end a fight in seconds, he built a reputation, a genuine reputation as the Bronze Bomber. But after tough losses, tough losses and questions about his future, many wonder if his best days are behind him. So is Deontay Wilder still a dangerous contender, or is he finished at the top level? You know what, this Deontay Wilder thing is quite interesting because I was thinking to myself, I was pondering this question. When did Deontay Wilder look good? When did he look good? And I gave 3 reference points. I would say he looked great against the knockout of Audley Harrison. Now, I know a lot of people are going to criticize Audley Harrison, but at the end of the day, Audley Harrison was touted to be a great contender. Some people touted him to be a champion, and, you know, Deontay Wilder did the absolute business. Also, the Luis Ortiz fights. Luis Ortiz was a very credible fighter. He was at one time a feared fighter, and Deontay Wilder got the job done. And then you had the title victory. You had the title victory against Stiverne. Tough fight, real tough fight. Stiverne took some real hard punches and came back. But then you had the rematch with Stiverne, which was an emphatic knockout. So we can take a lot from that. That's when Deontay Wilder looked good. And my other question was, what was Deontay Wilder's boxing identity? And in a simple sense, he had his jab was like a measuring jab. He would put it out there. Sometimes he would snap it, but he would put it out there. And he had he had this 1-2, but he didn't throw it like there. He would throw it like here. So he would think of it like this. In most people throw a jab, they'll throw it like, say, to an opponent's left eye, and then throw the right hand to the opponent's right eye. But he would throw it, say, to the right eye. So it's the trajection is here. So instead of the trajection being there, the trajection is here. And he's throwing the right hand through the target. There's some important points here. The 1-2 is phenomenally hard. It's phenomenally quick. And it's punching through the target. And he's supposed to be like one of the hardest punchers ever. So it's how quickly he throws that 1-2 and how he generates power in that small movement that made him really phenomenal and really just got some really great knockouts. Also, part of his style was that when he would hurt an opponent, he would go from throwing straight, then he would just load up with big hooks. Now, most people would say that this is a mistake, but if you think about it, when an opponent is hurt, if you're punching them around the head and to the temple with hard booming shots, it's very hard, even for an elite fighter who's hurt, to be able to throw counters. They'll have the boxing IQ to be able to think, okay, can I throw a counter in this position? But if your legs are up and under, or if your legs are not under you, throwing temple shots with big booming overhand lefts and rights can actually be effective. And he was effective with that strategy. So to me, an effective Deontay Wilder is utilizing his jab, has a high jab output, and has that quick jab straight right. It's very quick, it's very hard. And let's remember, when we talk about who is the greatest puncher of all time, 2 names come up. The general boxing public say George Foreman. However, certain purists will contend that Ernie Shavers hit harder than George Foreman. Now, the credibility to the George Foreman claim is that Evander Holyfield, who fought massive punchers, Riddick Bowe was a huge puncher, Lennox Lewis was a huge puncher, Mike Tyson obviously was a huge puncher. He fought George Foreman, and he said that George Foreman hit him harder than anyone else. So that means he hit harder than Tyson, he hit harder than Riddick Bowe, he hit harder than Lennox Lewis, etc. That's an amazing claim. And also, I think what he said was that he got hit with a left uppercut by George Foreman in round 2 of their fight, which was a great fight, by the way. And he thought his he thought he punched his teeth out. He thought his teeth fell out. So clearly George Foreman has phenomenal power. And if you want to reference that Joe Frazier fight, he hits him with like a left hook and a right hook, and it like lifts him off into the air, respectively. So he clearly has phenomenal power. But this Ernie Shavers, certain people have said that Ernie Shavers' punching was out of this world. So these are the two people that people put up there. Obviously, general fans will say Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson was a phenomenal puncher. But people in the know will either go to George Foreman and Ernie Shavers. Of course, there's other hard punchers. You got your Mike Tysons, Rocky Marciano with the Susie Q with the ferocious right hand. Riddick Bowe was a ferocious puncher as well. Tommy Morrison with an amazing left hook. He really generated some crazy power with that left hook. David Tua. There's loads of great punchers in the heavyweight division. But people at the peak of Deontay Wilder's rise, people were actually saying that he is the hardest puncher. Now, it's nearly impossible to qualify this statement. But the point was that he, at the time, was considered the hardest puncher in the division. And he had this 1-2 that was devastating. So it's clearly the demise of Deontay Wilder. When did it start? Well, he fought Tyson Fury. The first fight, a lot of people thought he lost. And then the second fight, respectively, Tyson Fury came in, and Tyson Fury just went to an elite level, and he clearly dominated that fight. And that's when he switched trainer. I think it was Mark Breland that was training him, and I think Mark Breland did a great job. But then he went to Malik Scott, and I'm not going to, a lot of people talk badly about Malik Scott, but if you look at that third fight against Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder actually did some good things. He had a good double jab, straight right. He used the jab to the body to set up the right hand. So he was more technical in that fight. And I thought that if you look at the second fight performance to the third fight performance, even though they were both losses, they were different types of losses. And it felt to me that Malik Scott was definitely bringing something new to the table. And, Deontay Wilder could take a lot from that fight. And obviously, there's some variables here. Was Tyson Fury better in the second fight than he was in the third fight? And was that the significant factor? Or was it just a case of Deontay Wilder had actually improved under the tutelage of Malik Scott? Now, then we had Deontay Wilder versus Helenius. And Helenius is a good boxer. And he scored a first-round knockout. No surprises there. Well, surprising that he did that to Helenius, but not as surprising Deontay Wilder getting a knockout. But what was a surprise was that he did it with a counter right hand. So it would appear that Malik Scott was adding different features to Deontay Wilder, and that was a good thing. But then he fought Joseph Parker, and Joseph Parker came in with a very good strategy. He has Andy Lee. Andy Lee was trained by Emanuel Stewart, arguably the greatest boxing trainer of all time. So they had a good strategy and they implemented it to a T. And Joseph Parker is a fast, hard puncher that has good boxing IQ. Now, what was I think the negatives from that fight is how Deontay Wilder lost. He didn't get knocked out. He went to decision, but he just practically lost every round, and he didn't make the necessary adjustments. He didn't make any adjustments, really. There was a bit of a surge in round 12, but clearly Deontay Wilder needed to make adjustments, and he didn't make those adjustments. And that was a huge red flag. In boxing, you must make adjustments. Usyk is such a great fighter, and part of him being a great fighter is making adjustments. Okay. And then he fought Zhilei Zhang, and there was all the publicity that, he's going back to knocking people out and punching hard. And then he had, again, it was Zhilei Zhang just walked him down and knocked him out. And again, Deontay Wilder did not make adjustments. He didn't make the necessary adjustments to make it a competitive fight, if my memory serves me correctly. And it just seemed he would feint a lot, and he was looking for the opportunities, and it was like he was focused and in the moment, but he just wasn't really punching that much. So there was an issue with the punching output. There was an issue with not using enough jabs. His movement was good, but of course, you've got to give Zhilei Zhang credit. He's a clever southpaw counterpuncher who's really big and bold. But you would have thought that the lack of speed that Zhang has, that they could have exploited that. You'd have thought that fast 1-2 could have really made a significant impact. And you would have thought that, even there's a bit of creativity, like feinting with the right, because that's what they would be looking for, and then throwing that hard left hook, or maybe doubling up that left hook and then shooting the 1-2. You would have expected a level of punch creativity, and it simply wasn't there. And then he parted ways with Malik Scott, and then he's now got a new trainer. And I did briefly watch his last fight, and I feel that on one hand, you have to give Deontay Wilder a little bit of leeway to kind of develop his confidence, but I wouldn't say that was a good performance. So the question would be, can Deontay Wilder get back on top, and what would he need to do to get back on top? I think he needs to reassert the dominance of the jab. He needs to have a higher output with the jab. He needs to develop his punch creativity. He needs to get back to throwing that fast 1-2. He really needs to get back to that. He also needs to get more creative, I think, with the left hook. Maybe shoot the left hook to the body, maybe for a straight right to the head, left hook to the body. Just introduce some punch creativity. And he also needs to learn how to adapt to situations. And the only way you're going to learn that is in the training camps. So there needs to be, we don't know, only the people close to him know, whether his skills have completely diminished. Only the people close to him know that. But even if they haven't diminished, he needs to get the right guidance to be able to develop certain parts of his arsenal. Because it feels to me that he became a world champion, and like I said, he had some really good attributes, but recently there's just been a total absence. And I think his confidence needs to be developed. He needs to redevelop his confidence, but also there needs to be some increase in boxing intelligence and punch creativity. And I think if he was to do that, and if he still has that material, still has that power, still has that speed, then perhaps there's an argument that Deontay Wilder could get back into the races. But I think his confidence is understandably quite low after suffering those two significant defeats. And I think for him to get back, he needs to redevelop the confidence, and he needs to he needs to have the right trainer that was able to build the confidence, build the technique, and add the necessary things that need to be added. And then, assuming he still has that base, and he still has that speed and that power, then potentially Deontay Wilder could become a force again.